Mm-mm-mm. Red button on the left hand of my screen means we are live. Some Casual Takes, episode 65. Welcome back, everybody. Hosted by your boy, Stephen Pepper, here to casually talk sports. This episode is unfortunately brought to you by no one again. Hey, once we get this podcast settled, once this podcast is in final form, we will get a sponsorship soon. Trust me. And speaking of getting podcast on final form, that's what I was working on yesterday. It's a couple reasons why we're doing a Tuesday show. Surprise. Hey, I say at the end of every show, turn on notifications, follow me on social medias. I put out an update on TikTok saying turn on noties. No show on Monday, show going to be on Tuesday. If you follow what I say at the end of the show, you would have known we were going to go live tomorrow. A couple reasons why I didn't go live tomorrow. I already said I kind of want to get the show in final form. I know I say this like every week. I'm fixing the structure of the show, but I really put a lot of time into making this an actual listenable, enjoyable podcast each week. But it takes time though, and I grind learning more about sports so I don't sound like a complete. I know it's casual take, but like an actual casual, and have a smoothly run podcast. I also lost my voice too over the weekend. I lost my voice. It was just a fun weekend. All my dudes who listen will know. Fun college student weekend. You're gonna yell, you're gonna scream, and have fun. I just lost my voice. I did. I literally couldn't speak on Sunday, and I could barely speak on Monday. I'm a lot better now. Voice is still a little different today. It actually got a lot better from this morning. From like right now, I don't know how that's possible. Voice is still a little bit better. Still not that good, but it's a bit better today. It was also the Ohio State game over the weekend, and as someone from Columbus, that game-winning touchdown, I think I was screaming nonstop for an hour, especially at those Notre Dame fans that came out of nowhere. I think most of those Notre Dame fans that I was seeing over the weekend were just anti-Ohio State people claiming South Bend, Indiana, for the sake of Ohio State to lose, and a bunch of gamblers who took Notre Dame money. In that game winning touchdown, I just completely lost my voice in celebration. But we're here today on a Tuesday show. I'm not going to bore you guys and spend an hour talking about what happened on the Sunday slate of games. I'm just not going to do that. I know you guys all on Monday listen to other sports podcasts. You listen to other sports television networks. You listen to sports TikTok, Instagram reel clips, read articles. You guys have listened from the same takes of Sunday's reactions that the Bears and Broncos games, the Cowboys games were embarrassing, and the Dolphins look like one of the best teams in the league. And you've heard that over and over on Monday, and I don't want to bore you guys on Tuesday about the same takes. Let's rather talk about some Monday Night Football instead. That's a good thing about the good thing about Monday Night Football is if I can't do a Monday game, I can always do a Tuesday show, and I can bank on the Monday night games. And there's two of them too, which I don't necessarily like, which I'll get into second, but since there's two games, I have more to talk about. Since I also missed the Monday games, I'm not talking about Taylor Swift. Dude, I'm actually glad I didn't have a Monday show because I didn't want to sit up here and talk about Taylor Swift because you guys are already fired up. You guys have gone on ESPN. You guys have gone on Bleacher Report. You're flipping through Instagram. You saw 9 straight consecutive posts by Bleacher Report of Taylor Swift and Kelsey. You guys are bored. You guys want to hear football. You don't want to hear about Taylor Swift. But I am sad, though, because I didn't get to talk about Colorado. You guys know for the last month, a staple on the show is that we talk about Colorado. We've been talking about Colorado every show for the last 3 weeks. I couldn't talk about Colorado. I didn't dodge. Colorado got absolutely blown out. Kind of saw it coming. I didn't dodge. I just wasn't here to talk about it. But my just a Monday games, I want to get this really quickly before we get into the 2 Monday Night Football games. It is cool that we get more football. I do. I mean, it's weird to say no to more football. I love football. It's my favorite sport to watch the NFL. It's weird to say no to football. But, I just don't like the 2 Monday games. You got to flip back, especially when they go on at the same time. Primetime games are primetime games for a reason. It's a one game taking up the huge primetime spot. One game on Thursday night, one game on Sunday night, one game on Monday night. I don't like flipping through. I don't like doing that flip through. Eagles are driving, and then I got to flip back to the Bengals and Rams games. I just want to watch Bengals Rams, but to give you guys the best content and since I love football, I got to go back and forth between 2 games. I didn't like that. Now ESPN kind of knew that was an issue. They tried to do a little red zone double box. You know, red zone does a double box. They try to do a split screen on some big plays where they have the Eagles on one side and the Bengals on one side of the telecast. It just didn't work for me. Just keep it one Monday night game. I got homework to do too. I got all this other stuff. I don't like 2 games. It works in my favor though, since I didn't do a Monday show. Now I got 2 games to talk about. But I don't like 2 Monday night games. But let's get into it. We got the Rams, Bengals, the Eagles, Buccaneers. We got to break down those two games. So we're going to start first with the Los Angeles Rams winning to Cincinnati to play the Bengals. And the Cincinnati Bengals pulled off a 19-16 game. It was really just a kicker game, honestly. It was McPherson versus the Rams kicker. It was just like the difference, honestly, was a field goal. McPherson made 4, Rams kicker made 3. It was just they both scored a touchdown each. It was really just a field goal game. It's interesting enough. Rams, Bengals, Eagles, Buccaneers. These are two matchups that happened in the 2021 playoffs. Eagles play the Bucs in Tampa Bay 2021 playoffs. I think this is the first time they played each other since then. I could be wrong, but this was definitely the first time the Rams had played the Bengals since they rematched in the 2021 Super Bowl. Kind of interesting how it worked out. Both teams played in the playoffs, but different Eagles team the Buccaneers saw and different Rams team the Bengals saw. This was also Monday night at Paycor, which I was thank God nothing bad happens. Everyone who doesn't know, it's kind of like this curse. Monday Night Football, primetime, ESPN, Paycor, Cincinnati, formerly known as Paul Brown Stadium. Something always tends bad things happen. Bad things happen. Think about Damar Hamlin, tragic injury that happened. Paycor, night game, primetime, Monday night. Tua, concussion, brain injury. I think he had a seizure on the field. It was very unfortunate. It was a horrible watch. That happened in Cincinnati Monday night. I think that was a Thursday night. That was Thursday night, but that's like primetime Paycor. And then the Ryan Shazier primetime playoff game injury, another career-ending spinal injury. So much bad has happened on primetime Paycor Stadium. Thankfully, nothing bad happened, so we had a clean game to watch. Now, I mean, the Rams had some banged-up offensive linemen, but it's not nearly as bad as the other injuries. So, Bengals won. A lot of people are asking me this question. My family's probably watching. My parents' family, they like to watch. They like to watch this game. Watch my show. Grandparents, mom, Bengals fans. Half my roommates are Bengals fans. A lot of the viewers who are watch my show from my school, Bengals fans. They're asking me today. They're probably wondering, see by the title, are the Bengals back? Do I believe the Cincinnati Bengals are back? Because since a lot of friends are Bengals fans, a lot of my family's Bengals fans, I like to make fun of the Bengals, saying, "Oh, season's over, start 0-3." But they're 1-2. Are they back? No, the Bengals aren't back, but they're getting there. I think they're on track. I don't think they're back. This isn't a championship team. I didn't see a championship team yesterday, but I saw a team on track to being one. I like that they're not 0-3 today. I like that they beat a good Rams team in a different way than I'm accustomed to see the Bengals beat the Rams. You just got to trust Joe Burrow. I think you got to trust Joe Burrow. Now, I don't talk to girls. I don't talk to girls. I don't know about you guys, but I don't talk to girls. I don't know what a woman is. I've never held a hand with a girl. I don't know. But think about like a relationship with a woman, a marriage, a good one. If she's the one, if you're in a relationship with a girl, if she's the one, you'll go through some rough patches. If you're in a commitment with a marriage, if you're in a commitment with a girl, you'll deal with some rough times because you know it'll quickly go over and you'll be back to the old days. It'll be sunshine and rainbows. Joe Burrow, Bengals, huge commitment this offseason. Highest paid player in NFL history signed that contract extension. And immediately calf injury, immediately 0-2 start, playing Rams for an possible 0-3 start. That looked bad. That's a rough patch. They were 0-2 last year as well. Rough patch. And especially this year, the offense was just completely out of sorts. They couldn't get anything in sync. Looked like they couldn't build off anything. But Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. If you're one of the best quarterbacks in the league, the best quarterbacks in the league go through these rough patches. And since they're one of the best quarterbacks in the league, they get out of it. Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl hangover, started 3-4. Remember, lost Tampa Bay, following season 3-4. People were like, "Oh, this is not the Chiefs team. The offense was out of sorts. Mahomes' turnovers were skyrocketing." They went all the way back to the AFC Championship because Patrick Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, the best. Think about like Josh Allen, high turnovers, can lose the Bills some games. He has an AFC championship, makes the playoffs every year, wins the division every year because he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Think about Joe Burrow, 0-2 start last year, offense out of sorts, went back to the AFC championship game because he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And this year, although Joe Burrow's not fully healthy, 0-2 start, offense looks completely out of whack. 1-2 now. Yeah, I think they got Arizona and Tennessee the next 2 games. They can be 3-2 in like 3 weeks because he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You just got to trust the best quarterbacks in the league. And Joe Burrow last night, 26 of 49. It wasn't a good game from Joe Burrow. It was a very mid game from Joe Burrow. Threw 50 times, wasn't that good. Only 5.3 yards a pass, 259 yards. He threw like 31 times in the first quarter. He couldn't really move. He wasn't that mobile. The playbook was limited. Couldn't really go under center, run play actions, designed rollouts, no bootlegs, nothing like that for Joe Burrow. No running, no scrambling. He couldn't do that because of his calf. He couldn't really move. No touchdowns. He threw an interception, got sacked twice, QBR 25, rating 60. Wasn't that good of a game for Joe Burrow. But Joe Burrow hung in there, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and pulled out a win for Cincinnati. He said it himself. Joe Burrow said, I pride myself on availability. There's a risk to go out there and potentially re-injure it, but there's also the risk to go out there and be 0-3. That's what Joe Burrow said after the game. He said the Bengals are on track. He said the Bengals aren't there yet, but they're on track, and that's exactly why. Because Joe Burrow, I really appreciate this about Joe Burrow. See, in the NBA, no one's doing this in the NBA. No one's doing this in the NBA. But Joe Burrow, I really appreciate that. If you're a Bengals fan right now, you're kind of hoping he doesn't re-injure himself, but you also have to just appreciate that your quarterback loves being on the field and would rather die for his team than start 0-3. That's what you got to love about Joe Burrow. And the reason Joe Burrow playing, obviously, he had to play because they're backup. Oh, my God. What makes no sense is that the Bengals have no backup quarterback, and Joe Burrow's injury was in July. Like, no trade was made for a backup. No signing. Wasn't Jake Browning or whatever. Like, bro, Joe Burrow had to play. But they found Jamar Chase last night. That was key. Burrow played, but they also found Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase was absolutely spectacular. I think Jamar Chase, first 2 games of the season, just didn't look like Jamar Chase. Fantasy owners were seeing the other guys like Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill have 200 yards a game. Jamar Chase had 70 receiving yards in the first 2 games. Not good. That's not good. Had 10 targets, 70 yards in 2 games. Jamar Chase last night, 15 targets, 140. So he had twice as many receiving yards last night than he did to start the season. Jamar's back. It's a good sign because the Cincinnati Bengals, if they want to have their success, it needs to be built off Jamar Chase and pushing the ball down the field. T. Higgins, guys going down the field. Why they've really struggled, not just because of Joe Burrow's injury. Now, some of it, the play design, could be to Joe Burrow's injury. But the reason why they struggled is because they kind of lost offensively. I have a problem with Zach Taylor because there's lost offensively their identity of pushing the ball down the field, getting creative with routes. Jamar Chase winning one-on-ones. They barely allowed Jamar Chase to win these go routes down the field one-on-one. I don't know why. It was their bread and butter. I mean, they were 8.7 yards of completion in their Super Bowl run, which was the best in the league. This year, it's 4.6, which is the worst in the league. But when they needed Jamar Chase the most, when they needed to pull out the victory, they did it. They found Jamar Chase for a lot of splash plays. He had a 43-yard catch. He averaged 12 yards a catch. Jamar Chase the last 2 years has averaged at least 12 yards a catch. He's averaging less than 10 this season, but he averaged 12 last night. I've always believed this. Ball to best weapons. Kirk Cousins, spam Jettas. Tua, spam Tyreek. Ball to best weapons. Third down, need a win, find Chase. And that's exactly what they did. You're going to have to pay Jamar Chase all his money. Feed him. I know they're going to pay Jamar Chase. Feed him. And that's exactly what they did. Underrated part of this Bengals team last year, they crept into being a really good defense last year. Now it's looking legit. This is an elite front seven. DBs, I still have questions about, but hey, some of them, Dax Hill played pretty good. Some of their DBs played really good last night. I still don't, know Jesse Bates. DBs are still a little questionable, but that front seven looks really good for the Cincinnati Bengals. 6 sacks total by the team. They really abused that injured offensive line of the Rams, and their sacks were key too. These weren't just like early sacks. These were key sacks in the red zone to settle the Rams for field goals. These were key sacks on fourth quarter drives to make the Rams punt and take them out of field goal range. Cincinnati was just bringing the heat all night. Like I said, Trey Hendrickson he's just one of the most underrated, if not the most underrated defensive player in the league. Hubbard's also really good. That duo off the edge, 3 sacks combined, 13 pressures, and 9 quarterback hits, according to Next Gen Stats. The offense isn't completely there yet. But if you're a Bengals fan today, the offense isn't there yet. It's not. Joe Burrow can't move. Joe Burrow, he's throwing a little more checkdowns. The ball can't go as deep as it once did. Some of it's due to the injury. Some of it's because Zach Taylor is a little incompetent. But if you have a defense playing like this, 6 sacks, getting to the quarterback, off the edge, key sacks, keeping the ball out the end zone, then you have to be feeling confident if you're a Bengals fan. Now you're not back. You're not back. You're still not a Super Bowl contender yet. You're outside looking in the bubble, but it's better than being 0-3, and you actually have today something to build off that you just didn't have in the first 2 weeks. And at least on the Rams side of the ball, let's talk about the Rams a little bit. Matthew Stafford, it wasn't a good game for Matthew Stafford. It was good. Matthew Stafford always gets his yards. He always gets his yards. He had 269. 18 for 33. He looked much better in the first half when Puka Nacua was going off. Tutu Atwell was going off. Those guys really got shut down in the second half. That's when the Bengals defense started to clock in. Matthew Stafford had 2 interceptions. He just didn't have much time to throw. He's not a Josh Allen. He can't scramble outside the pocket every game to extend plays like a Mahomes. When that offensive line breaks down, Matthew Stafford, whose eyes have to be down the field in the pocket, he just got harassed last night. And you can tell in the fourth quarter when he was trying to mount a comeback, he just couldn't because he just felt the heat. The Rams coming in the game, the best third down offense in the league. I think they're converting third downs on like 60% of all their third downs. They were 1 for 11 last night, and they were 1 for 10 for like the longest. And then they got that last third down on their in garbage time. That's what the Bengals defense did to them. The Rams, I still when it comes to the Rams though, really quick on the Rams, they're not a Super Bowl team. I think if you had to pick which team more likely to go back to the Super Bowl, Rams or Bengals, I'd say Bengals. I don't think the Rams are a Super Bowl team. They're definitely improved from last season, but that offensive line doesn't look that good. Defensively, Donald pressure. Defensively, it's not that bad. It's not horrible. It's not Denver bad. They still have Donald. They still have some guys. Offensively, though, offensive line is a concern. And going forward, when they play better defense, they play San Francisco again. They play some great edges. You got a game plan around that. You got to get some guys healthy. All right, let's move to the other game. Eagles-Bucks. So the Philadelphia Eagles won 25-11 in Tampa Bay over the Buccaneers. Now, this is a game, flipping back and forth. I obviously prioritize the Bengals-Rams game because I want that had so much stakes on it. I couldn't care less unless Baker Mayfield was just winning against the Eagles, and I wanted to see how Baker Mayfield would win against the Eagles. We knew how this game was going to go. So the Rams-Bengals game got more airtime on TV, but of course I still clocked in this game. And I saw a positive for the Eagles. Just like the Bengals, they found their identity. They found it. It's that power running, pound that rock. DeAndre Swift, he's my running back, by the way. I don't understand what Philly saw in Gainwell and Penny. Swift is really good. Swift is. I was about to do a Swift is Swifty. Swift is Swift. I'm going to save you guys from puns. I'm sorry. I was about to make a cringe joke. But Swift is good. Last 2 games, 300 yards. 305 yards and a tutty in his last 2 games. He's giving you about 7 yards to carry. Swift needs to be the main back. I'm not saying this because he's my fantasy running back and I'm trying to win this league. I'm trying to win this league. I'm not saying that. The Eagles' offense looks really good with Swift in their backfield. Now, a lot of it has to do with, I don't know, probably the best offensive line in the last couple of years. This offensive line is really good. This offensive line is really good. But this is the Eagles' identity. I don't like when the Eagles force Jalen Hurts to throw. Now, Jalen Hurts did say he had some flu-like symptoms. I understand that. But I don't like when they force Jalen Hurts to throw. He almost threw 40 times last night, and I didn't think he needed to throw 40 times. I don't think he's the best passer in the world. I don't think this offense should prefer passing. It should just prefer running. He's thrown for over 30 times twice this year, and they were his 2 worst passing days. I think this offense going forward, they should just pound the rock. Swift is about to lead the league in rushing. If he gets carries like this, if he gets this volume, like compare Swift and Gainwell. Swift is almost getting the same amount of carries as Gainwell, who they prefer to start the year. Swift in 2 less carries had almost 100 more yards than Gainwell. Swift is way better. Swift going forward has to be the running back. Defensively, I had a podcast last week saying after Thursday night, Eagles defense, it doesn't look that good. Secondary's banged up. They were much better. I know they played Baker Mayfield. I know, but they were much better. Getting into the quarterback, they were much better. Locking up wide receivers, they were much better. They got an interception. I think they were much better defensively. Are the Eagles still concerning? I guess since I answered the question on the Bengals back. Now I had a question last week. Are the Eagles concerning? I don't think the Eagles are as concerning going forward today because I think they have found their identity. Oh, siren number 6 passed my house today. I don't think the Eagles are as concerning because I do believe they found their identity, just like the Bengals. Guys, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The Eagles and the Bengals have felt off this year to start the season. Why? Because for the most part, they've gotten away with what has made them great. Last night, both teams pulled out wins because they returned to their formulas when it mattered the most. The Bengals have built their recent successes being the best deep ball team in the league. And this season, they've averaged the lowest yards per catch in the league. But last night, they found chase for splash plays when it mattered the most. And the Eagles, they went to the Super Bowl being this power running team behind the best offensive line in the sport and not forcing Hurts to be a passer. This season, Hurts already has 3 interceptions. He had 6 all last year. But to secure 2 straight primetime games, they kept it on the ground at least 40 times a game. These 2 teams will be fine. I know it's kind of funny saying that because the Eagles are 3-0. But these 2 teams will be fine. If they stick to their formulas, they can be right back into Super Bowl contention. Easily Super Bowl contention. If they stick to their formulas, these are easy Super Bowl contenders. But something has felt off about these teams. They just haven't felt the same like last year. But when they find their formula, they can easily go back to what the Eagles were last year and what the Bengals were these last 2 years. I don't like the Bengals throwing more checkdowns. Now, you can say this because of Joe Burrow's injury. I don't think Joe Burrow's calf injury is restricting him from throwing 12 yards. They have a really low air yards before that game. The Bengals need to push the ball down the field. That's their bread and butter. That's the only reason. That's one of the biggest reasons, in my opinion, why they've been so successful, pushing the ball down the field with their 2 best weapons. I know defense's game plan now with the 2 high safeties on the Bengals. I understand that. But they got to get more creative play calling than they did last night in the second half, moving Jamar Chase around the field, putting in more motion, putting in more creative routes, and it worked. And for the Eagles, stop forcing Jalen Hurts to throw 30 to 40 times a game. Jalen Hurts only has to throw, I think, like 25 times a game. Run it as equally, if not double, then throw it. And those teams will be right back into the Super Bowl where they want to be. Jalen Hurts already has 3 interceptions. He had 6 last year. I think for majority of last season, he only had like 1 or 2. They started piling on at the end of the year. Those two teams, they stick to their formula. They're fine. They're fine. Quickly on the Bucs before we go into another topic I want to end before we wrap the show. It's going to be a quick show today. The Bucs, on the other hand, who the Eagles played, what'd you expect? Look who's under center for the Bucs, guys. Prime time. Eagles visiting. Look who the Bucs quarterback is. Did you expect any different? I didn't. It's a Baker Mayfield-led offense. The Bucs just look like a Baker Mayfield-led team in a big game. That's it. Nothing really to take away from the Buccaneers. That's a Baker Mayfield-led team in a big game. This is just who Baker Mayfield is. We are 6 years in now, and I see a really good backup forced to be a starter. Guys, he's 1-5 on Monday Night Football. He can win you games. He's not bad, but it can only be one way. Remember when he made the playoffs in Cleveland? What was it? Ground game pounds, defense plays great, pocket holds up, no expectations, not playing far from behind. Last night, what did we see? 0 running game. Defense was still good, but gave up 25 points. Pocket wasn't the best. Bucs are 2-0 to the start of the year. Monday Night Football at home and playing from behind early. Of course Baker wasn't going to win that game. That's who Baker Mayfield is. You put Baker Mayfield in a great situation, he'll win you some football games. You put the pressure on him, the ground game's not working. Baker Mayfield looks like a backup. Threw an interception last night. Defense was holding up. You still couldn't win that game. That's just who Baker Mayfield is. We're 6 years in. What we saw last night was a Baker Mayfield-led team when it mattered. And that's what we got. Did we expect anything different? No. That's just a Baker Mayfield-led team. All right. I'm itching to talk basketball. We get like a basketball game, I think, when is it, 10 days now? Countdown. We get some basketball action. We get some games. It's almost October. That's when the NBA season starts. We got some preseason. We got some camp. We got some exhibition games. So I'm itching, guys. I'm a fiend for basketball. I love talking basketball. Majority of my podcast before the NFL season was literally just talking basketball. But the offseason has been absolutely dead. And the reason why the offseason has been absolutely dead is because Damian Lillard still hasn't been traded. I'm waiting for the Dame tweet. Like, what's taking so long, guys? I'm waiting for Damian Lillard to get traded. What is taking so long? I want the league to get shaken up. But now it's starting to heat up. I've seen more and more Damian Lillard rumors before we start the season. Seen Toronto's getting involved. Seen Boston get involved. Seen all these other teams could get involved for Damian Lillard. Now, I saw something the other day. This is from Ethan J. Skolnick. Sorry if I butchered your name, bro. Via 5 Reasons Sports on Twitter. He said the Miami Heat believe they could win the East with their current roster and will not act desperate for Damian Lillard. If you guys don't know, Miami for the longest has been the front runner for Damian Lillard. Miami, like every year, it just seems like Miami's the front runner for every big name trade or free agent. But Miami's been the front runner for Damian Lillard. And they've been kind of, I guess, playing chess match when it comes to leverage between these two organizations. But Ethan says the Miami Heat believe they can win the East with their current roster, which that basically means they're not going to be desperate for Damian Lillard. Miami also sent a package, by the way, according to Mark Spears, good insider. Mark Spears said the Miami Heat offered a trade package that included Tyler Hero and 2 first-round picks for Damian Lillard. That doesn't seem like a desperate package to me. It seems like the Heat are playing it very, very safe when it comes to the Damian Lillard market. I guess they don't want to gut their entire team for Damian Lillard because they still feel like going in the finals twice in the decade, the conference finals 3 times in the decade, they can win it with this team. I know if something happens over and over and over again, it's a pattern, not an outlier. So the Heat, in 2020, they made the finals. But then 2 years later, they made the conference finals. And then they made the finals again. They've been to 3 Eastern Conference finals in this decade. So it seems like 2020 is more of a pattern, not an outlier. But part of me still thinks, but most of me still thinks the Heat overachieved. The Heat organization thinks that this roster right now can win the East, and that's why they're not playing desperate for Damian Lillard. But who's going to tell the Miami Heat that they got worse and the East is getting better? They lost Strus. They lost Vincent, two valuable guys, and the whole reason why they even got to the NBA Finals last year. Celtics, and they can't, like the Celtics got Kristaps Porzingis. The Bucks, championship winning core coming back healthy. The Cavs, extra year of experience. The East is going to be good. The Heat can't keep banking on playoff upsets and playoff injuries and a lot of things going in their favor. They can't bank on that every single year. Their luck's going to run out soon. Also, a reminder, Jimmy Butler's 34. You can't keep banking on playoff Jimmy. As much as I love him, you can't keep banking on him to rise up and average 35 points per game in a playoff series every single year. And even if they do win the East, there's a reason why they haven't won the NBA Finals. It's because when they get to the finals, their insanity run is over. There's a reason why they haven't won the finals. Even if they do win the East, they won't win the finals. They're 0-2 in the finals for a reason. And it's because that playoff luck, that playoff overachieving, they don't get in the finals. Butler comes back down to earth. They don't get injury breaks. Caleb, they need Damian Lillard to come back. They need Damian Lillard on the Heat. The Heat need Damian Lillard. They do. Damian Lillard is such a great asset for them because they don't need to rely on Jimmy Butler averaging 35 points a game in the series. They don't need that if they have Damian Lillard because Damian Lillard can help. Damian Lillard had one of the best scoring seasons last year. He can add that to the Miami Heat roster. You're telling me you'd rather have Tyler Hero, your second best playoff scorer? Or you're banking on Caleb Martin having 20 points a game in a playoff series? Caleb Martin's not that good, bro. He's not doing that ever again. Jaquez, that's your second best playoff scorer. I know Bam's not the most consistent scorer in the world. Dame Lillard would be such a great asset. This is not just for the Heat winning the finals. They don't get Dame, they're not winning the East. They need him. The Heat win Dame. I need to see when this trade. The Heat just need Dame. I need to see when this trade happens. Is it happening? Is it happening before the season? Is it happening mid-season? But look at this Heat team. No Strus, no Vincent. Valuable in the Eastern Conference Finals, in the NBA Finals. Their third highest scorer was Gabe Vincent. He's gone. Kyle Lowry, another year older. Jimmy Butler, 34. Tyler Hero has been injured in 2 straight playoff series. Tyler Hero's injured in 2 straight playoffs. Eastern Conference Finals, 2022, injury. Finals this year in 2023, hurt. They haven't had Tyler Hero for many big games. He hasn't played in both Game 7s in the Eastern Conference Finals. They can't keep begging on a Giannis. What was Giannis? Like spine, tailbone. I forgot what Giannis' injury was this year. They can't bank on that Giannis injury again. They can't bank on Tatum rolled ankle. They can't bank on that. They can't ask Jimmy Butler, and at 34, he's aging. You can't ask him, I need 35 points per game against the Bucks. Caleb Martin, hey, role player. You've never done this in your life, but I need you again to do 20 points per game in a playoff series. You can't do that. You can't do that if you're Miami. You need a Damian Lillard. Not just to win the finals, but to win the East. To win the East. East is getting better. Sixers are down, but the Cavs are up. The Cavs got Strus. The Cavs have Strus. One of your guys. Donovan Mitchell, extra year experience. Mobley, extra years experience. Together, core, championship Cleveland aspirations. Boston Celtics, I think they were a Tatum injury away. From going back to the finals. Heat obviously reaped the rewards of that. Now they had Kristaps Porzingis. Teams got better. Milwaukee's going to run it back. Giannis is hungry for a championship, man. Giannis is hungry. Giannis is upset that you beat him in 5 games. He's hungry. He wants a championship, man. Milwaukee's trying to keep Giannis. Milwaukee doesn't win a championship this year. Giannis is probably gone. Milwaukee's going to be super hungry for a championship. You don't think they're going to make deadline moves to obviously make that roster the best so they can please Giannis? They're going to. Miami just can't keep running it back. I love Jimmy Butler. He's one of my favorite players. He's 34. But again, if something happens over and over and over and over again, it looks like a pattern and not an outlier. But I still think, although they've been to 3 Eastern Conference Finals, 2 NBA Finals in the turn of the decade, I think they've overachieved every year. In the year that they were actually supposed to make the finals, when they were the 1 seed in the East, they didn't even make the finals. They didn't make that finals that year. They made it to the finals. The 2 years they made it to the finals, they were the 4th seed or worse. I think they're the 4th seed in 2020 or the 5th seed, and they were the 8th seed last year. They need Dame. Dame's a 30-a-game guy. He won't average 30 if he comes to Miami. Heat culture, sharing the ball with Jimmy Butler. He can come in, average 27 a game, be your primary scorer, take the load off Jimmy Butler, who isn't a great scorer in the regular season, win you more games than last year. Add a shooter to a team that they desperately need. They lost 2 pretty good shooters in Vincent and Strus. Add a great shooter, very efficient. Go to the playoffs, have 2 high, great scores, but playoff Jimmy, then Dame. That team can win the East. But I don't thank you guys for tuning in. That's all I got on this Tuesday episode, Tuesday special episode of the Some Casual Takes podcast, episode 65. Thank you to the growing YouTube audience. I always shout out the YouTube audience because we are growing over there. And thank you to everybody. I see Chris commented on Twitch. Thank you to all the people who listen live on Twitch. Follow social medias. It's very important, guys, because you wouldn't have known that unless you have followed the social medias like the TikTok, you would have known I would have went live on Tuesday. Follow social media. Stay updated on all things related to the show. Next show will be Friday around 12. But again, if I can't do the Friday show, make sure you turn on the noties. We'll talk Thursday night football on Friday, and maybe Dame's traded by then. But until Friday, I hope you guys have a good rest of your week.